Hello, and welcome to Innovation Lab, your go-to resource for all things biotech startups. Brought to you by the National Cancer Institute's Small Business Innovation Research, or SBIR, Development Center. Our podcast hosts interviews with successful entrepreneurs and provides resources for small businesses looking to take their cutting-edge cancer solutions from lab to market. I'm Monique Pond, a program director and team lead here at NCI SBIR, and I'll be today's host. Today, I've invited Dr. Billy Baza, a program director at NCI SBIR, to provide insights into a unique funding opportunity that our program is currently offering. We call it the NCI SBIR Innovative Concept Award. Listeners will get an overview of the support this award can provide for cancer technology innovators with highly transformative projects that address rare and/or pediatric cancers. Welcome, Billy.
Hi, Monique.
Hi, thanks for joining us again today. Excited to talk about this new concept award. Before we get into the details of the concept award itself, maybe we can start by hearing some of the background into the origins of this funding opportunity.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting story. So the concept award was designed in response to a recommendation from an external working group that was convened by the NCAB. That working group evaluated the SBIR program as a whole. And actually, one of their top recommendations was to create a new funding mechanism that could support early stage innovation, projects that are of the high risk, high reward nature that might not have much preliminary data associated with them and which would kind of harm them in a peer review process that's kind of standard towards NIH. So that's how we developed the concept award. And our major goal was to create a pipeline of innovation to make sure we're continually soliciting the top innovative projects. So the second piece to that is we're hoping to address some of our portfolio gaps for rare and pediatric cancer indications. And we have these gaps because it's often quite challenging for companies to commercialize in this space for a number of different reasons: complex regulatory pathways, low population cancer indications. So we're hoping with the funding support from the Concept Award, we can reduce some of these barriers, allow companies to commercialize in this space and address some of these portfolio gaps. And our big picture goal is to help accelerate these potentially game changer technologies from concept to clinic.
Great. So you mentioned early stage, and just for our listeners here today, you mind kind of defining a little bit what you're talking about when you say early stage? Because I know that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah, so for the Concept Award, no preliminary data is required. So we have been able to and have been successful in funding companies are at the concept stage. There still needs to be some scientific feasibility associated with the project, whether that's minimal preliminary data or referencing scientific literature. But you can definitely be successful in competing for this funding mechanism with very limited preliminary data. And the way I think of it is really whatever data that you typically put together for a strong phase one SBIR application are some of the type of activities that can be funded and investigated through the Concept Award mechanism.
So almost a pre-SBIR funding opportunity, if you will. People could potentially take their innovative idea, apply through the Concept Award, and then have data to go on and be successful, hopefully, in maybe a phase one, phase two SBIR.
Yeah, definitely. I like that wording. It's a great way to put it.
Well, let's talk money now. So what are the funding levels for this opportunity?
Yep, so it's a 300,000 contract funding opportunity. Typically, we see 1-year projects funded through this mechanism. Again, preliminary data is not required, and at max, when they submit their proposals, they can only include up to 1-page maximum of preliminary data. So really, offers are completing their critical de-risking aims or objectives through this funding mechanism. Another kind of important thing to note: later stage development will not be supported through this mechanism, as well as non-exempt human subject research. Those are things that are not considered within scope for the Concept Award. And in terms of timing, one of the things and the cool features of this award mechanism is our goal is to issue all awards within 6 months or less. So we think that's really important. If there's a really cool, innovative idea, we want to fund that as quick as possible. And also we want the whole application and peer review process to be as streamlined as possible. If it's kind of an innovative idea, but there's not much preliminary data behind it, it can be daunting to put together a full proposal. So, making all of that kind of seamless and efficient is important for, again, soliciting some of the most innovative ideas.
So for innovators out there, you talked early stage, no preliminary data required. What about technology types? Is it open to any technology types? Are you focusing just on therapeutics for these rare and pediatric cancers?
I'd say it's focused on most technology types. So we have, and I would continue to recommend applying if you have a therapeutic, a preventative agent, a device, a diagnostic, digital health technologies. Those are all kind of within scope. I think the major driving consideration is, does the technology have the ability to change detection, treatment, prevention, or care of a rare pediatric cancer indication?
So out of the box, innovative ideas, pretty open to technology type, though it sounds like.
Mhm. Yes.
Mhm. So how do entrepreneurs find out if they're eligible to apply for this opportunity?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces to this. The first, a question that frequently comes up is, how do I know if my cancer indication is rare? So we're leveraging the NCAT's Guard website for this. You can find a link for that in the solicitation. It's a very easy web page to navigate. You can type in your disease indication, and if it pops up on the list, it's considered rare. Important to note, our definition of rare is pretty broad. Things like pancreatic cancer is considered rare. So for pancreatic cancer, there's about 60,000 new cases of pancreatic cancer in the U.S. per year. So not typically considered rare, but within scope for concept award. We are also encouraging tough to treat, low survival cancer indications. That's something we always kind of recommend. And the simplest and best way to find out if you're eligible is to submit a white paper. A white paper is a short 2 to 3 page summary of your technology. If you check out the solicitation, it has guidance on what type of information to include in the white paper. It's important to include enough detail to allow for a meaningful white paper review. And it's interesting that white paper review it's organized internally within the NIH. It's something that's I think is really cool and a nice win for NIH. About each fiscal year, we have about 70 different NIH white paper reviewers that we're able to recruit and onboard for this internal review process. And again, the major goal is to just decide whether or not to encourage the offerer to submit a full proposal. And all companies will receive written feedback, even if the answer is yes or no to a full proposal, they'll receive some written feedback as to why that determination was made.
Wow, that's great and quite different from the grant side of things. So, what if someone's listening today? Let's say they didn't learn about the white paper in time. Are they still eligible to apply, or do they need to wait until the next year and the next opportunity?
Yeah, so they can still apply. We highly encourage the white paper review process. That's the best way to kind of get feedback from NCI if it's within scope of things that we want to receive and allows some information on ways to kind of enhance full proposal. So I would strongly recommend submitting the white paper process.
You mentioned it was only 2 to 3 pages. That is a nice plus. Not many
Yes.
things are that short for applications in the government.
Yeah, that's the goal is to simplify things on both sides. One on the offer side to make sure they don't waste time putting together a full proposal that might not be responsive. And two, for evaluating early stage innovation, we kind of want to create a tailored and smaller peer review process. So the white paper allows us to do that. So that's why we kind of really important and highlight the need to take part in the white paper process.
Awesome. So for those listening in, definitely do that white paper. And it sounds like it could save you some time. And you mentioned getting feedback as well. Right. So since this does seem to be a pretty high priority program for NCI SBIR, are there other additional support mechanisms that you'd recommend for concept awardees or people interested in concept?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that, Monique. So all concept awardees are expected to enroll in the NIH I-Corps program, and we provide supplemental funds for companies to take part in the I-Corps program. And what is I-Corps? It's an entrepreneurial immersion program where companies can refine their business proposition. So it's an excellent resource and opportunity. So companies form 3-member teams and go out and conduct over 100 interviews over an 8-week period of time. So again, it really allows them to refine their business proposition. Second piece of support mechanisms that we provide for Concept Award is, and this is relatively recent, So now all concept awardees that successfully complete their original aims or objectives through the original 300,000 funding opportunity are able to submit a transition to phase two proposal for continuing the program and the project. And these are higher dollar award size. So $3 million for phase two awards and $3.5 million for fast track awards. And so this is the first opportunity for this will be coming in fall. So companies will be invited to submit a transition to phase two proposal in fall. And we're planning to have an informational webinar to kind of go over a little bit more detail of this in late summer. And the third piece of this, as an SBIR awardee, they're able to leverage a lot of our additional non-funding resources. So we have a ton of great programs. I'll just highlight two quick ones. CARE, it allows our companies to get early access to FDA regulators. And our Investor Initiatives program, it allows companies to go out and pitch their technology to help try and raise additional funding support.
That's awesome. So not R&D funding, but other support that's obviously very important to get these technologies to the clinic and to helping patients. So as far as key dates people should be aware of or timing, where can they find this information for this upcoming solicitation?
Yeah, the solicitation is currently out and open. You can find that on our website. And in terms of upcoming deadlines, our first is our white paper deadline. That's June 5th. And our full proposal receipt deadline is September 23rd.
Okay, so plenty of time for people to submit the white paper, get the feedback from NCI reviewers, and then make changes and develop their full proposal. Thanks, Billy, for speaking with us today. Sounds like a really unique funding opportunity. Great opportunity if you're an early stage biotech researcher, perhaps working in rare pediatric cancers, and you have some game-changing ideas to address these cancers.
Thanks so much for having me, Monique. Had a great time talking about Concept Award.
Great. Well, looking forward to a lot of interesting new ideas. And if you're out there, please don't forget to check out our website, sbir.cancer.gov, for the latest funding opportunities and commercialization resources to support your journey from lab to market. This was Monique Pond from NCI SBIR. Please join us again for the next installment of NCI SBIR Innovation Lab and subscribe today wherever you listen. If you have questions about cancer or comments about this podcast, you can email us at nciinfo@nih.gov or call us at 800-422-6237. And please be sure to mention Innovation Lab in your query. We are a production of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health, National Cancer Institute. Thanks for listening, everyone.